start, and I know I asked you to do number 6. We'll get to that in just a second. But we're going to start on number 1. So here's what it looks like, and I know it's always a little smaller on the board, but it's exactly like what you have on your paper. It says graph the equation y equals 5 over 4 x minus 10 using the y-intercept and the slope. So what you're going to do, remember, this is y equals mx plus b. The first thing you want to do is this number right here. It's a negative 10. So you're going to go on your y-axis, which is this line right here, till you see the number negative 10 right here, and you're going to make a point there. So everybody needs to have a point at negative 10 on the y-axis. From there, my slope is 5 over 4. So what is the top number telling me I need to do? Close. Up 5, and what's the bottom number mean? Right 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your pencil on the point you just made at negative 10, and we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to make a new point. I'm going to show you that again. My pencil was on 10, negative 10. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do that again if you wanted. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write 1, 2, 3, 4. How many points do you need to make a line? 2. So do you have to have that third point? No, you don't have to. I just put it there just because. So then what your ruler would come in handy is you need to connect your dots. No. Okay, so what I want to make sure is you draw your line all the way through your graph. Don't just connect the points and be done. A line means it's going to go through the graph all the way. So you can see mine goes through that graph the whole way. All right, so get that point finished, and then we're going to move on to number 2. Here's number 2. So this one says 5x minus 4y equals 40. We have to graph this a little bit different. So you're going to start by making a T-chart. X will be on the left and y will be on the right. So what we want to do is we want to make x 0. So the number and that's attached to x and the x go away. So I'm going to color those out with, you don't need to do that. I'm just showing you what goes away. So we're left with negative 4y equals 40. So what would I need to divide by to solve for y? What's right in front of my y? So I've got to divide by negative 4, and your answer is y equals negative 10. So what you're going to do underneath y, when you make x 0, your y is negative 10. We need to plot those points. It's like an ordered pair. You're going to go over 0, down 10, and make a point. So I made that point. I went over nothing, down 10, and I made a point. You just told me we have to have 2 points to make a line, so now I have to do the same thing, but this time I am getting rid of my y. So here's my y. I'm making it 0. That means the number with the y and the y go away, and I'm left with 5x equals 40. So I need to divide by what? 5. What is 40 divided by 5? 8. So right here, our number is 8, and then we're going to plot that like an ordered pair. So this tells me my x, I have to go over 8. So here's my x-axis. I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And my y tells me I don't have to go up or down anything. So there's my second point. Now we have our 2 points for our line. So you're going to draw your line to connect them. And you're done. That was number 2. So we went over 0, down 10 for our red point, and then we went over 8, up and down nothing for our blue point. All right, number 3, write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents the line shown. And remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. All right, so what we've got to do is we've got to look at the line that they gave us. So we want to start by finding our little tiny y, which was right there. We follow that y until we see where the line crosses, which I found it right here. What number did that cross at? So that means b equals 1. We have 1 point. Now we need to have 2 points because the next thing we need to do is find our slope. So I'm going to follow my line down until I see another point. I found one right here. Is this line going uphill or downhill? Downhill. So what does that mean our slope's going to be? Negative. This means I have to go down 1. So the top number of our slope is -1. And write 1, 2, 3. Remember, slope is just telling you how to get from one point to the next. So I had to go down 1, right 3. Our last step is we now can replace b and m with those numbers. So y equals, I'm replacing m with what I just got, which was -1/3. I don't have anything to replace x with, so I just leave the x, but I do have a number to replace b with. Since this is a positive one, I'll put +1. And that's my answer. That's the equation of that line. Y equals -1/3 x plus 1. Do you remember that from last week? A little bit, hopefully. We did a bunch of those. All right. Same thing here. It says write the equation for line L, but when you find your y-axis, what happens? And you look and see where that line crosses, what do you notice? Yeah, it doesn't cross at like a perfect point, so we have to do something different here. I'm going to try to find 2 points on my line. I found one at the very top right here. I got to find another one. I believe there's one at the very bottom. So what we're going to do first is we're going to find our slope. Slope is rise over run, or how do I get from one point to the next point? So it looks like I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So the top number of my slope is 4. And then I have to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now we know our slope, which is good. But we can't figure out where it crosses the y-axis because it looks like it's crossing right in between 2 and 3, and we don't get to make numbers up in math. We have to figure them out. So now we have to pick one of our 2 points and write down what it is. I'm going to choose this top one because I know it'll be positive. So what is that point? You have to go over 6 and up 5. So everybody write that point down too. You only have to pick one of the 2 points. I always pick the point that has the positive numbers because the other one would have negative numbers. That just makes it a little bit more difficult. So we're going to use the equation y equals mx plus b like we have been in the past on other questions. This is now going to be my x and this is going to be my y. So instead of saying y equals, I can replace this because I know what number y equals now. Y equals 5. So I'll say 5 equals. Instead of saying the letter m, I know what letter I can use for, or number I can use for that, which is 4/9. Instead of saying x, I know that that's now a 6. I still have no idea what the letter b stands for, so I leave that. So we've got a fraction, and we're supposed to be taking it times 6, and that's why your calculator comes in very handy. 4 ABC 9 times 6. What did you get when you took 4/9 times 6? Okay, so 5 equals, we're going to say 2 2/3 plus b. What's the opposite of positive 2 2/3? Thank you. So I'm subtracting 2 2/3 from both sides. We're solving this equation for the letter B. Positive 2 2/3 minus 2 2/3, that's just 0. We don't have to say that. If I want to take 5 minus 2 2/3, you type in your calculator starting with a 5. So make sure you clear it and then hit 5 minus. Now you'll hit 2 ABC 2 ABC 3. 2 ABC 2 ABC 3. Yeah, so B equals 2 1/3. And that makes sense because if you take 5 minus 2 2/3, you could, maybe that might be some mental math for you too. This number is very important. This letter B is important. And then this M that we came up with at the beginning is important. The very last step is we write that in our equation. Y equals our M, 4/9 times X. And is this positive 2 1/3 or negative 2 1/3? It's positive, so we'll put a plus sign. And we'll circle it, and that's the graph, or that's the equation for that line. It's saying it should be crossing at about 2 1/3, and that's exactly what it looks like to me. All right, this is very similar to what we did Friday as well. They don't give you a graph to find the slope. They just give you the slope. They tell you it's -3. So I'm going to circle that -3 because that's really important. Then they give you a point. So this is going to be my X and this is going to be my Y. So we're using the same equation. It's actually very similar to the one we just did. Y equals mx plus b. I now know what I can replace y with, and that's a -7. I know what I can replace m with. It's -3. I know what I can replace x with. It's 5. But we still do not know what the letter B is. That's what we're trying to figure out. So now we just have some simple math to do. What is -3 times 5? -15, and I still have plus b. What's the opposite of -15? -15, +15, those cancel out. This is the same thing as saying 15 minus 7. What is that? 8. Okay, I'm going to circle that. That's really important to me because I need to know M and I need to know B at the very end. So Y equals M, which was -3, times X. If this is a +8, you'll put +8. That's my final answer for number 5. I know the staples on your packet's all messed up, but that's okay. Look at number 6. This is the one we were talking about. This is like the lesson 22 that we did on Friday. So we have water flowing out of pipe A at a constant rate. So we're going to write an equation for pipe A first. It says it can fill 3 buckets of water in 14 minutes. So remember, when you have a word problem, you always start it with y over x. Remember, time is always on the bottom. So we're talking about 3 buckets in 14 minutes. Which one of those is a time? So 14 minutes goes on the bottom, and 3 buckets will go on the top. So what we need to do is come up with an equation. So what is diagonal from y? So you'll write 14 and y as a pair. What is diagonal from x? So 3 and x are now a pair. To solve for y, all you have to do is divide by the number in front of it. So if you guys have a calculator, which I know you do, someone take 3 divided by 14. y equals 0.21 x. So that is the equation for pipe A. Then they give us this graph that's it says this is the representing what pipe B can fill up in the same buckets. So this one is a graph. You're going to find your little y. There it is. There's my little y. I put a y over it. You follow that until you see what number it crosses at. What number did it cross at? So B equals 0. Keep going on your line until you see another point. I found one right here. The slope is how do I get from one point to the next? And you always start on the point on the left, which is this bottom one. How much up do I have to go? So the top number is a 1. How far over? 5. There we go. So our slope is 1/5. And then we plug that into slope-intercept form. So we'll say y equals 1/5 x. And then you could put plus 0 at the end, but most people in math are not going to do that. They're just going to leave it 1/5 x. So someone with a calculator, take 1 divided by 5. So that would be the same thing as 0.20 x. So that's for pipe B. Remember, when you're wanting to know which one fills it up faster, you're looking for the larger number. So now you have to look at these two numbers. You've got 0.21 and you've got 0.20. Which one of those is larger? A. So it says which bucket is faster? Pipe A is faster, and the reason is 0.21 is greater than 0.20. Not by a lot, but it is still bigger. Okay, we have 2 problems left, number 7 and number 8. Number 7 says, do the graph of these 2 equations have the same line, y or y not? Okay, so what you want to do is you want to set up fractions, and I'll show you how. I'm writing this bigger so you can see it. You don't have to do this. Okay, what number is with x in the first equation? -16. You're going to put that on the top of the fraction, and then you find the same number in the second equation. What number is with x in the second equation? Okay, someone with a calculator, take -16 divided by -4. We're going to circle that. That's important. Then we're going to do the number with y. So what number is with y in the first equation? That goes on the top. What number is with y in the second equation? And what is 12 divided by 3? Then we're going to do our last number. So the last number in our first equation goes on the top, divided by the last number in our second equation on the bottom. So someone tell me what 33 divided by 8 is. Okay, so the question was, do the graphs of these 2 equations have the same line, y or y not? If you get the same number every time, like exactly the same number every time, the answer is yes, they're going to be the same line. But did we get the same number every time? We got 4, 4, and then this one was different. So these are not going to be the same line. And the reason for that is we did not get the same ratio every time. Ratio is a fancy word for fraction. So if you would have gotten 4, 4, and 4, then the answer would be yes, because the ratio was the same. But in this case, we got 4, 4, and 4.125, and those are not the same numbers, so sorry, it's not the same line. Last question that we have is number 8. And I know on your paper it's like upside down. Is everybody done writing on this one? I don't want to move on unless you are. Okay. Number 8 says it gives you this equation, 3x minus y equals 11. Then it says write another equation that's going to give you the exact same graph. So here's a little hint. Take this equation and multiply it by whatever number you want other than 1. Someone give me a number. Not 0 or 1.
14.
Okay, 14. That's going to have some serious math to do, but that's okay. So once you multiply it, you need to take 14 times 3. So someone take 14 times 3 and tell me what it is. 42x. This one is like it has a negative 1 in front of there. So what's 14 times negative 1? Negative 14y. And then someone take 14 times 11. All right, so this is the same line as the one they gave us at the beginning because we took all the numbers by the same thing. We took them and multiplied them by 14. So you can take this equation that they give you at the very beginning and multiply it by anything other than 0 or 1. So if you want to take it times 2, then you'll get a new equation that has the exact same graph. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 1y is negative 2y, and 2 times 11 is 22. So it doesn't matter what you multiply it by as long as it's not 0 or 1. Anything will give you a new equation that is graphed the same way. It's the same line. Does that make sense? Just multiply it by a number, okay? Okay, that is our study guide. I'm going to have you get out your Chromebook really quick.